Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. S. Naeem Banu, Assistant Professor of Political Science, Indira Priyadarshini Government Degree College, Nampalli, Hyderabad. Today, I am going to discuss about one of the most important topic of Indian polity, that is the role of governor in Indian states. Like any other parliamentary system, where generally dual executives exist. One executive is nominal executive, another is real executive. In fact, this is one of the important feature of any parliamentary system of government, unlike the presidential, where single executive and the two real executive exist. Example, America. As we know that Indian founding fathers of Constitution have borrowed the concept of parliamentary system from Britain, and as such we are having parliamentary system like any other parliamentary system in India. Both at the state and at the union levels, dual executive exists. So at the central level, the dual executive acts as what I want to say, the most important part of the government machinery. So at the central level, the nominal executive is the President of India, and the real executive is the Prime Minister along with his Council of Ministers. So here at the state level also, as we know that in India, federal form has been in implementation. Means a federal government is one where dual administrative machinery is implementing. Means a federal government is one where two types of governments exist. Means two machineries were there. Means first one union government, second state governments. Union government are the national government which is meant to look after the affairs of nation, whereas state government is one which is going to look after the affairs of the state as well as the local units. So what I am trying to say, that at the state level also there is a governor in whom the executive powers of the state is vested by the constitution. So the constitution, as in the case of the president also, all the executive powers have been vested by the constitution in the hands of the president. In the same way, at the state level also, the governor of a state has been vested the all executive powers, though he acts as a nominal head, and in real terms the real executive powers are exercised by the Council of Ministers headed by the CM. It is something like at the central level, president, nominal executive, Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers acts as the real executive. In the same way as we have been following dual polity, that is federalism, so at the state level also, governor acts as the nominal executive, whereas the Council of Ministers and the CM, means Chief Minister, acts as the real executive. In fact, I want to say one thing, that the post of governor of a state is of immense importance in our political system. In fact, it is considered as one of the pivotal parts of checks and balances that our democracy is proud of. The concept of checks and balances. This is very important to know. In what way this system is going to become one of the primary and fundamental principle of making democracy successful. Why? Because it is the powers of governor acts as a checks on the arbitrary, what I want to say, arbitrary use of the power by the real executive and makes the balance. So what I am trying to say, that the position of governor acts an important as far as the concept of checks and balances concerned. So coming to know the position of governor under Indian Constitution. Article 153 of Indian Constitution provides governors of states. According to this article, there shall be a governor for each state and lieutenant governor for each union territory. So, every state under Article 153 should have a governor. Coming to know Article 154, which also related to the powers, particularly the executive powers. I have already told you that the real executive at the state level is though CM and Council of Ministers, but here the de jure sovereignty totally rests with the governor. So, according to Article 154, all the executive powers of the state shall be vested in the governor and shall be exercised by him, either directly or through the officer subordinate to him in accordance with the Constitution. It is something like Article 74, where the President of India is bound to exercise his executive powers um, by his subordinates, means Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister of India. So coming to know the qualifications. Article 157 of Indian Constitution provides the qualifications for the governor. So according to this article, no person shall be eligible for the appointment of a governor unless he or she is the citizen of India. Means this is the foremost important condition to become the governor of the state. So he must be the citizen of India. He or she should complete the age of 35 years and he shall not hold any office of profit. So in this way, these three are the primary qualifications to become the governor of any states. Coming to know certain conditions which have been laid by the Constitution as far as the governor office is concerned. So, Article 158 lays down certain conditions. First, the governor shall not be a member of either house of the parliament or of any house of legislature of any state specified in the first schedule of Indian Constitution. And if a member of either house of the parliament or any house of legislature of any state, okay, can be appointed as a governor, but the condition is that he should resign that post. So this is a very important thing which is related to the governor's appointment. One more thing that has been laid down in the Article 51-58 of Indian Constitution, that if any person who belongs to either house of the parliament or legislature of any state, that is we have already discussed. But secondly, what I am trying to say, that if any member of Council of Ministers, either the cabinet rank or the deputy rank or independent charge, whatever it may be. So, in a member of the Council of Ministers, either at the national level or at the state level, okay, is appointed as the governor, the condition is that he should resign the post. So, in this way, the qualifications regarding the governor of a state are clearly mentioned in these two important, what I want to say, articles of Indian Constitution. Coming to know appointment. The governor of a state is appointed by the President of India. As we know that in India, all the important appointments, including governors, chief justices, Comptroller and Auditor General, okay, chiefs of armed forces, these important appointments have been done by the President. So in the same way here, governor is appointed by the President for a period of 5 years, but normally holds office during the pleasure of the President. So the pleasure of the President means that the governor may be removed by the President even before the expiry of his or her term. So he or she means the governor may also resign earlier. However, in reality, while appointing or removing the governor, the president must be advised by the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. So, the here the whole and sole authority of the appointment of governor is totally rests with the president. In reality, with the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Coming to know the removal of the governor. So, like in Indian Constitution, as far as the president is concerned, president has been removed um, by an impeachment process. This is what everybody knows. But as far as the governor of state is concerned, there is no such process. Here, president is in effect of central government, has the power to remove the governor of any state at any time, even without giving any reasons for his removal. However, the reasons which I am going to discuss should not be the valid. For example, however, this power of president cannot be exercised arbitrarily, means in an arbitrary manner. It is to be exercised in rare and exceptional cases for valid and compelling reasons, not just the reasons like the mere reason that the governor at variance with the policies and ideologies of the central government has lost the confidence in him cannot be the reason for his removal. Means that if a governor of state is not uh, not in convenience with the policies and ideologies of the central government, then he is going to be removed from the office. This should not be the reason. Number two, the change in the central government cannot be the reason for his removal. This is something like spoil policy, which is in vogue in America, where the president of America is having the power to remove his council of ministers, means who are not the part of the politics. But as far as Indian polity is concerned, where the president of the governor has not been changed if the central government is going to change. So the decision to remove the governor can be challenged in any court of law. The court in any case required can ask the central government to produce the reasons, materials, means the matter on the basis of which the decision was made to verify the presence of compelling reasons. So in this way, the governor, the appointment and the removal powers of the government has been in the hand by the president. Coming to know the very important aspect of governor's office, that is powers and functions. The powers and functions of the governor and in fact the lieutenant governors of the uh, Union territories of India are similar in nature to that of the President of India at the union level. It means the governors of the states and the union territories, lieutenant governors of union territories of India performs the same functions like that of President of India, who generally used to perform at the central level. However, the governor is of a state is the chief executive. The powers and functions of the governor resembles to that of President of India at the union level. Here, as far as comparative study of President and Governor is concerned, um, frankly speaking, Governor is having some more powers, means discretionary powers, which the President of India is not having. This is one of the important comparative study of the powers and functions of governor and the president of India. So, though we cannot deny the fact that generally speaking the governor acts on the advice of the council of ministers. So, but as far as in case of discretionary powers, where there is no need that he has to follow the advice of the council of ministers, and this is what the difference between president and governor. Whereas as far as president is concerned, all the executive powers and other powers which are related to the President of India, he has to perform uh, on the aid and advice, I want to say, of the Council of Ministers. But as far as the governor is concerned, governor can also perform certain functions which are uh, not based on the advice and aid of the Council of Ministers. So coming to know the powers and functions of the governor of a state is provided with three types of powers: ordinary powers, discretionary powers, and emergency powers. Coming to know ordinary powers. Under ordinary powers, we can list out the executive power, legislative power, financial power, judicial powers, etc. So coming to discuss one by one what are the ordinary powers of the governor. So executive powers. We shall start with executive. Being de jure head of the state means all the executive actions are taken in the name of governor. The Constitution of India vests the entire executive powers of the state in governor, who performs these functions according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by CM. So the governor appoints the chief minister. So one of the important executive powers of the governor is that he appoints the real executive, that is CM and Council of Ministers. So another important function of the governor as a part of executive, that he or she also appoints the persons on important posts, such as who are the part of the administration or executive part of the state, like chairpersons and members of State Public Service Commission, which is supposed to recruit the public servants in the state. He also appoints, he or she also appoints State Election Commission and its members, State Finance Commission, Advocate Generals, judges of district courts, and other than the high courts, whatever the courts that lie in the within the state, other than the high courts, he will appoint. Why? Because the judges of high courts, either the chief justice or other judges of high courts have been appointed by the president. So here the governor has a varied function of appointment. So while he is consulted with the when the judges of the state high court are appointed by the president. This is very important to know. While appointment has been done by the president regarding the state high courts, then the governor of a particular state has been consulted by the president. But in practice, the governor's powers are only formal. Okay, why? Because he is the nominal executive. He appoints only that person as a chief minister who is the leader of the majority party. This is what nominal powers. Okay, so he appoints the majority party leader as the chief minister in the legislative assembly. He also appoints the members of Council of Ministers only on the advice of CM. All other appointments have been made and executive functions are performed by the governor exactly, definitely on the advice of the Council of Ministers, including the CM. So what it means that as far as executive powers of the governor is concerned, that he appoints the real executive, that is though it is nominal powers, but he without his what I want to say, oath taking ceremony where he involved, so it is the formation of the government is incomplete. And as far as the head of the state is concerned, all the important dignitaries in the state, like commissioners, chairpersons, members of election commissions, state election commissions, okay, state finance commission, state public service commissions, state advocate general have been done by the governor. Coming to know Another important category of functions, though governor is the part and parcel of executive, but he also performs certain legislative functions. However, the legislative functions of the governor can be classified into two groups. One with respect to the bills, second one with respect to the legislature. Let us discuss first the powers and functions of the governor in respect to the bills. Whenever a bill other than money bill is presented before the governor for his assent, he either gives his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill or return the bill for reconsideration of the houses. But if the bill is passed again by the legislature with or without amendments, he has to give his assent. And or sometimes he reserves the bill for the consideration of the president also. So what I am trying to say that no bill become a law unless and until that bill should get the assent, means the signature of the governor. This is very important because here governor is, though he is the part of executive, but as far as the passage of the bill is concerned, his assent is must. Secondly, though the governor also cannot send money bill back for the reconsideration, this is because the money bill would usually be introduced with prior assent of governor only. In case the money bill reserved for the presidential assent, the president has to state whether he has to give his assent or withholding his assent. So in this way, what I am trying to say that as far as money bill also is concerned, governor's prior intimation is very important. Coming to know the powers of governor with respect to the legislature. Governor, as everybody knows, as the president who is the part of the parliament, in the same way here at the state level, governor is an inseparable part of state legislature. And as such, he or she has been given certain legislative functions. For example, the governor has the right to summon or prorogue the state legislature. So it is the governor who can summon the sessions of the state legislature or prorogue the legislature. Summon means demand to have the session. Prorogue means so as to stop, means postpone or withhold the sessions of the state legislature. This is one of the important powers of the governor, legislative functions of the governor. Coming to know other legislative functions of the governor are that he can dissolve the state legislative assembly, but not the council. Why? Because state legislative council is a permanent house like that of Rajya Sabha at the central level. So in the same way here also at the state level, according to Article 176, which empowers the governor to dissolve the state legislative assembly when it loses, means when it lost the confidence. So this is very important function which generally governor used to have. Another important legislative functions of the governor is that a governor addresses the state legislative assembly, means the first session of state legislative assembly after the fresh elections have been organized, or he or she also addresses the joint sessions of the two houses of the legislature. Means whenever deadlock that has been taken place between the two houses of the state legislature and any issue, that should be resolved by joint session of the state legislatures, and which has to be what I want to say addressed by the governor of his state. So the governor also nominates one person from Anglo-Indian community as the member of legislative assembly whenever the community is not be represented. So as President of India has the power to nominate two Anglo-Indian community members as to the Lok Sabha, in the same way here also the governor is having the power to nominate one Anglo-Indian community member to the Legislative Assembly. And one more power of the governor, which according to which he or she nominates 1/6 of the members to the Legislative Council. It is something like where the president also at the central level nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from different fields. In the same way, here also the governor is having the power to nominate 1/6 of the members of state legislative council if the state has bicameral legislature. Because in India, only 8 states are having bicameral legislature, means having two houses, lower house and upper house, Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. In the same means legislative council and legislative assembly. So wherever bicameral legislature is there, the governor nominates 1/6 members to the legislative council. Last but not the least, which is very important, that a bill passed by the state legislature becomes a law or act only when governor gives his. After knowing financial powers, we should turn to judicial powers of the uh, governor. Governor has the power to grant, the president who is having the power to grant pardons. In the same way, at the state level also, the governor has the power, certain judicial functions according to which he can grant pardons. Pardoning powers of the governor include several aspects, like he can pardon, he can have the right power to commute, remit, respite or reprieve any sentence given to a person for an offence against a law that comes under the executive powers of the state. In other words, any sentence of the imprisonment pronounced by any court within the state can be pardoned by the governor. However, the governor will not have the power to pardon the death sentences or the sentences spelled out by the martial courts. So, governor's pardoning power have been exempted from the two areas. One, he cannot pardon the death sentences and the sentences that have been spelled out by the martial courts. So, coming to know the areas where the uh, governor can have exercise his powers of pardoning, that he can pardon means he has the following pardoning powers against any offences to which the state power extends. Pardon, completely absolve the offender. Pardon means where he can completely remove the punishment. Reprieve, the governor is also having the power to reprieve, means staying on the execution of the sentence. Respite means awarding lesser punishments in some special circumstances. Remission, he also has the power to, what I want to say, reduce the sentences without changing the character. Commutation means substitution to the punishment, means substitution of one form with the other form. So in this way, the governor, like that of the president, has the power to give the pardons. And one more judicial powers of the governor is that he can appoint the judges of all the courts which exist in the state except the judges of high courts. Okay, so this is what the very important power of the governor. However, while appointing the judges to high courts, the governor of a state will be consulted by the president. However, unlike the president, governor will not have the power to seek advice from the High Court on any matter of public importance. As Article 143 empowers The Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court can give advice to the President, but as far as the Governor is concerned, Governor is not having any power to seek advice on any legal matters which are of public importance from the High Courts. In other words, High Courts will not have any advisory functions which the Supreme Court is having. Another important powers of categories of powers of what I want to say governor is discretionary power. Article 163 of Indian Constitution says that there shall be a council of ministers in the states with the CM as means chief minister at the head to aid and advise the governor in exercise of his functions, except those which are required to be done by the governor on his or her discretion. It means that governor is having some certain discretionary powers. The Constitution further mentioned that if any question arises whether a matter falls within the governor's discretion or not, the decision of the governor shall be final. This is very important to know. So the governor acts on the advice of the State Council of Ministers. This means that in reality the governor has no powers, but according to the Constitution, under special circumstances, he or she may act without taking the advice of Council of Ministers. Such powers which are exercised by the governor on his own, unlike the president I want to say, are called discretionary powers. Let us see where the governor generally used his discretionary powers. First, if no political party or coalition parties wins a clear majority in the legislative assembly and fails to elect the chief minister, certain time it happens. So at that time the governor can exercise his or her discretion in inviting a person to be the chief minister of the particular state. It means that whenever a party or a coalition parties fails to elect their majority party leader within the prescribed time, then the governor can use his discretionary power of inviting any person of the party as the CM. This is what the governor's discretionary powers. Secondly, the governor acts as the link between the center and the state. So at that time he or she can reserve any bill. Okay, as he acts as the agent of the central government, so he can reserve any bill passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the President of India. This happened. Why? Because most of the governors, in fact, there is a provision in Indian Constitution that the governor should not belong to the particular state where he is acting as the governor. So because of not having any knowledge regarding the customs, traditions of the particular state, might be he is going to get so many doubts regarding to give his assent on the particular legislation made by the state legislature. At that time, he can reserve any bill passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the president. This is what where he can use his discretionary powers. Thirdly, if the governor thinks that the government of the state is not functioning according to the constitution, then at that time under article 356 the president's rule generally be imposed in that particular state based on the governor's, what I want to say, written document. So this is called emergency. So such emergency is known as state emergency, where the president on behalf of what I want to say, governor's letter, generally impose the president's rule. Fourthly, the governor can dissolve state legislative assembly if the chief minister or CM advises him to do so, to do following a vote of no confidence. Now it is up to the governor what he or she would like to do. So at that time also the governor will use his discretionary powers. Fifthly, governor determines the amount payable by the government of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram to an autonomous tribal district council as royalty occurring from the licenses for mine exploration. It means that the governors of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram have been given certain autonomous, certain discretionary powers where he can determines the amount for the development of the tribals in these states. Lastly, governor can seek information from the CM with regard to the administrative and legislative matters of the state. So in this way, governor has discretion sometimes to refuse to sign to an ordinary bill passed by the state legislature for the first time. He may or may not. Means whenever he is going to get a legislation passed by the state legislature, he may use his discretionary power of either sending back the bill or reserve the bill for presidential consideration. So in this way, the discretionary powers of the governor are very important, which he generally used to follow or exercise under special circumstances which are missing as far as President of India is concerned. Coming to know emergency powers. So this is again the Article 356. The governor does not have the power to declare any three types of emergencies, unlike the president who is having the power to declare a national emergency according to Article 352, financial emergency according to Article 360 and state emergency under Article 356. Though the governor is not having the power to declare any these three type of emergencies, but as far as the state emergency is concerned, he can send a report to the president on the need to impose state emergency under Article 356. In other words, the governor can recommend the imposition of president's rule in that state. Once the president's rule is imposed in the state, the governor enjoys all the extensive powers. He becomes the real executive. So, whenever the state missionary has failed or state fails to follow any constitutional missionary of a state will break down, then the governor has the power to write a letter to the president for imposing the president's rule in that particular state. So at that time, the state legislature assembly have been abolished, dissolved, and until the new elections will be conducted, the governor acts as the real executive. So in this way, during state emergency, governor, what I want to say, exercise his executive powers. Coming to know another important, after discussing the powers and functions of governor, it is important to know what kind of relations that has been maintained by the governor with that of Council of Ministers. As we know that the state executive consists of the governor, the CM and the Council of Ministers. Normally the governor exercises power on the advice of the Council of Ministers. So here governor is not what I want to say free in exercising his powers of executive except during emergency powers or discretionary matters are concerned. Secondly, the governor simply invites the leader of the majority party in the state legislative assembly to be sworn as the CM. So, swearing ceremony of the CM has to be organized. Not only the CM but also the Council of Ministers have to be organized or conducted by the governor. The members of Council of Ministers are also appointed by the governor on the recommendations of the CM. So the majority can consist of the members of legislative assembly belonging to one party or a group of parties are independent. However, when there is no clear majority in the House electing one candidate as the leader, the governor can exercise his discretionary power of inviting any one of the member as the CM. Similarly, although theoretically the ministers hold their office during the pleasure of the governor, in practice the CM and the Council of Ministers remain in office till they enjoy the support of the majority in the assembly. The governor can dismiss them only when the president's rule is imposed. The CM is required to communicate to the governor on all the decisions of the Council of Ministers. The governor may call for necessary information related to the state administration, but it will not be correct to say that the governor is just a constitutional or ceremonial head. He can exercise his power effectively, especially when there is political instability that exists in the states. Several governors of India, up to as far as the Indian political history is concerned, played an extensive role during these political instabilities of the state is concerned. Since the governor is the link between the center and the state, he or she become very effective part of the central government and sends the directions to the state government. The discretionary powers of the governor acts as a real executive in particular circumstances. So these are the important aspects where the governor and the CM and his council of ministers acts. Certain special responsibilities of governor which have been conferred by the constitution to the governor. So the constitution has also placed some special powers and functions to the governor in certain states which need to be exercised in consultation with the council of ministers in the state. These include establishment of separate development boards for Vidarbha and Marathwada in Maharashtra according to Article 371. It means that Article 371 empowers the governor for the establishment of separate development boards for Vidarbha and Marathwada in Maharashtra, but he or she exercises these powers only after consulting with the Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister. Article 371 again empowers the governor to establish a separate development boards for Saurashtra and Kutch in Gujarat. So the Saurashtra and Kutch areas, which are everybody knows are very important areas as far as the Indian security concerns are there. So in these areas, the governor can establish development boards separately. Governor of Nagaland has special responsibility with respect to law and order in the state of Nagaland. So far as long in his opinion, internal disturbances occurring in the Naga Hills, Zeong area immediately before the formation of the state continues. So this power the governor generally used to exercise under Article 371, where the governor has the power to having a special responsibility with regard to the law and order situation in Nagaland state of northeastern area. Special powers with respect to the administration of tribal areas in Assam according to Article 371b. So this article empowers the special powers to the governor for the administration, proper administration of the tribal areas in Assam. Special powers with respect to the Manipur as far as administration of hilly areas in Manipur are concerned under Article 371c is concerned. So for peace and for ensuring social and economic advancement of different sections of the population in Sikkim under Article 371f, the governor is responsible for these aspects. So with respect to the law and order in Arunachal Pradesh, Article 371h has empowered more special powers to the governor. So in this way, the special responsibilities have been conferred on the governor, who have become the governors of these areas, Vidarbha and Marathwada in Maharashtra, Saurashtra and Kutch in Gujarat, Assam, Nagaland, Manipur, and Arunachal Pradesh. These are the areas which are situated in northeastern states because of the border threats that has been coming from our neighboring states. That's why the Article 371A, B, C, F and H has empowered certain special powers regarding ensuring security and law and order situation as far as northeastern state is concerned to governor. So at the end what I want to say that governor is the state's highest ranking elected official, but his or her actual duties are more varied than an elected member of state legislature, whose main role is to propose and vote on a new legislation. The governor also influences the decisions made by the state legislative bodies by exercising his legislative, administrative, judicial powers in general, and what I want to say, discretionary powers and emergency powers in particular. However, the governor of any state in India, the position I want to say, the position of governor of any state in India remains as one of the most controversial topic uh, of central state relations. And that is the reason why, because the governor has been appointed by the central government and acts as an agent of the central government. Sometimes he may use and may not use the discretionary powers, which is definitely affects the state missionary or state uh, polity. That is the reason why so many commissions which have been appointed on central state relations have recommended that several things as far as the governor of state is concerned. Like whenever the president is going to appoint the governor, he should consult the CM of the particular state, number one. Number two, the governor should not use, in fact misuse, should not misuse the Article 356, as what the history of political history of India shows. Several times governors have been either used or misused Article 356. That is the reason why most of the states have suggested the Sarkaria Commission, which is very important as far as central state relations are concerned, that governor means the governor's power of 356 article should be abolished. So whatever it may be, the office of governor remains as one of the highest ranking elected official of India. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to talk about